Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ogbanje Joseph. Please hit the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel. Like and share this video as well. Today, we are going to be talking about another theory called dependency theory, or what some people call underdevelopment and dependency theory, UDT. UDT. Okay, so what is dependency theory? Now, I would like to actually do a historical background to this theory. Now, dependency is a consequence of industrial revolution that started in a place called Lancashire in Britain. Okay, so many countries of the world have been experiencing underdevelopment as a result of dependency, for more than over 250 or for more than 250 years. Okay, so dependency and underdevelopment. Okay, let's even start with the concept of underdevelopment. Underdevelopment is actually that a stage in a developmental process. Okay, now the starting point is undevelopment. Undevelopment. After undevelopment, you get to the stage of developing. After the stage of developing, you get to the stage of development. So a country can be regarded as undeveloped. That is a natural state of lack, a natural state where the society is actually crude, where the society lacks necessary industrial and industrial and the means of production, or mechanized means of scientific means of production, and all of that. When a country industrializes, the country, when the country begins to actually have a tinge of industrialization, okay, and scientific revolution and all of that, that is the stage of developing. But a developed state is a state where, just like W. Rose to say will say, that is a stage of high mass consumption. What does that mean? It means the society has actually achieved scientific revolution, okay, industrial revolution, and the society, every aspect of the society has been transformed, to actually produce, from from quantitative to qualitative, stage. Now, development is improvement in the society. Now, when we talk about development, it is a state in which the society is able to actually capture its environment and turn the environment to its advantage. So, development is actually an improvement in the society, both in social, economic, political, and other aspects of the society. So development, okay, is an all-encompassing, transformation of the society from quantitative to qualitative height. Okay, so that is actually what development is all about. I've mentioned the natural progression of development. So we have undevelopment, we have developing, and then we have development. Now, another stage that is actually referred to as not a natural state but an artificially created state is the stage of underdevelopment. Underdevelopment is just like impoverishment. The state of poverty is actually your natural state of lack, but you are being impoverished when somebody, or when the poverty is actually caused, is actually humanly generated. So underdevelopment is actually an artificial stage, okay, of development. It is a stage. And why are countries actually underdeveloped? That is what the dependential school of thought actually came. That is the answer they came to, that is the question they came to answer. That the reason for underdevelopment is that after practicing capitalism for more than 250 years in third world countries, none of these countries have actually attained, the full stage of development. And that is exactly the reason, the Latin American scholars actually came up to start asking questions. And according to them, the reason for this underdevelopment is this dependency. Okay, is the dependency theory. Now, before this industrial revolution, okay, now the level of development in all societies across the globe was relatively equal, though there were little variations in some cases. You understand? But every society before then have developed in one way or another at its own pace and to address its own peculiarities. So there was no naked exploitation of one country by another. So as such, before then, precisely, okay, for centuries, great empires, okay, like those of China, India, okay, and of course, those in Latin America, okay, or sorry, those in the Arab world, actually were leaders in wealth, and technology. But their technological innovations, okay, did not take off to become a revolution in the production of goods and services. So the transformation of production by the Western world at the wake of industrial revolution has helped them to stay as the leader in new technological development, while the exploiting powers or the industrial capitalist states like the US, Britain, France, Germany, Japan, etc. are described as developed core, metropole, center, or rich societies. The socio-economically exploited societies are described as undeveloped, poor, periphery, satellite, underdeveloped, third world country, or developing countries. Okay, so that is actually the historical antecedents of the dependency school of thought. But let us look at various perspectives now. What are the various perspectives to this dependency? The first person's perspective we're going to look at is Offiong, 1980. Now, according to Offiong, okay, he said dependency is a situation in history of colonial imperialism, that history of colonial imperialism has left, and that modern imperialism creates in underdeveloped countries. What about dos Santos, Totonio dos Santos? He said dependency is a situation in which a certain group of countries have their economy conditioned by the development and expansion of another economy to which the former is subjected. Okay, to which the former is subjected. Now, don't forget that in his work, Development of Underdevelopment, Andrew Gonda Frank actually asserted that the colonizing states actually constitute the center of development, while the colonies constitute the periphery. Okay. Now, according to him, underdevelopment is not a natural nor the starting point of the periphery. Rather, it is a result of stagnation of the development by their contact with the Western capitalist system and colonialism. So, this contact incorporated the colonies into the world capitalist system of a subjugated position, and thereby creating development in the core and underdevelopment in the periphery. So the forces that brought about development in the core are still the same forces that brought about underdevelopment at the periphery. So you find out that even the incorporation of the third world countries to the Western capitalist economies or to the Western capitalist system is actually what created this underdevelopment. Because of course, I told you that capitalism have been in place in the African, in the third world countries for over 250 years, but they never witnessed development. And Paul, Rob Prebish, and some other Latin American scholars actually came up to start asking, series of questions. Okay, so those are the things. So the transformation of production by the West at the wake of industrial revolution has helped them to stay at the leader as the leader in technological development, while the exploiting powers or or the industrial capitalist states like the US, Britain, France, Germany, and all of that have continued to actually underdevelop the poor countries. Now, in the idea of Andre Gonda Frank, Walter Rodney, Franz Fanon, Sami Amin, Claude Aki, okay, Rob Prebish, Totonio dos Santos, and all of that. He said dependency theory sees development and underdevelopment as two sides of the same coin, in the sense that there are the inevitable outcomes and the physical manifestations of the world capitalist system and its inherent contradiction and exploitations. So the school argue that the export of capitalism by the West to other parts of the world and its resultant colonialism, neocolonialism, is responsible for the underdeveloped and dependency or the underdevelopment and dependency state of the third world countries. Now, those are just the major things. We must understand very quickly that dependency, you understand, is actually brought about by three major phenomena. One, capitalism. Two, colonialism. Three, neocolonialism. You understand? So those are just the major things. Now, don't even forget that it was capitalism that led to imperialism. Now, imperialism led to colonialism. Colonialism led to neocolonialism. Okay? And what we have right now is globalization. And after globalization, you go to internationalization. All of these things actually are tools that are used by the Western imperialist countries to further underdevelop the poor third world countries. But what are the critiques of dependency theory? Number one, the center-periphery relation in the global economic system is ambiguous. It's too ambiguous. This is because lumping the developed and underdeveloped nations, and tagging them center and periphery as if they are a block of nations, or that there is no variation among them, makes it even more, more nebulous and controversial. You understand? So those are the things. All of them are not the same. All the countries in the third world countries, in the third world, are not actually the same status-wise. All the countries in the first world countries are not the same status-wise. So you cannot say that the center-periphery lumping together relationship between the third world countries and the Western capitalist countries, can fly at every point in time. That's number one. Number two, it is not only advanced capitalist countries that exploit the third world countries, but also in recent times, the advanced socialist countries have also joined in the exploitation. So the socialist countries are also they are also culpable in this exploitative, drive. Number three, the theory also fails to consider the internal class structure in the periphery, that inhibit the development of the productive forces. You understand? So how Africa underdevelop Africans, how Africans underdevelop Africa. You understand? So those are the things. You find out that there are corrupt tendencies within the third world countries that keep underdeveloping them. Okay, so the last one is that the theory did not also proffer, okay, useful solutions, okay, to the evil of dependency. You understand? They didn't proffer useful solution. But let us quickly look at, the application of this theory to the international phenomenon. Okay, and the case study, the episode we are going to use to actually analyze dependency is colonialism. Now, is colonialism, right? Now, colonialism is a social, economic, and political subjugation of a people by aliens. The properly to properly situate, colonialism within the context of this discussion is to actually look at colonialism from the economic perspective. Now, capitalism is driven by the quest. Capitalism is driven by the quest to do what? For profit maximization. And the quest for profit maximization compelled the Europeans to search for cheap raw materials, cheap labor, and market for their finished products. This led to colonialism. Okay, don't forget, I told you that the starting point is actually capitalism. When capitalism actually became ripe, it went into imperialism. Okay, don't forget, that is why we are learning actually called, imperialism as the highest stage of capitalism. Now, when capitalism became very ripe, it changes to imperialism. Imperialism is actually the outward drive. Okay, when capitalism is moved, out of the national shores of the capitalists to other lands or to other continents, that is what is known as imperialism. Now, in the process of actually carrying out imperialism, there is need for colonialism. That is the presence of the imperialists using their government, to actually rule the people. You understand? To be on ground and rule the people and exploit their economy. Okay? Now, after imperialism, you have colonialism. After colonialism, the next thing you have is neo-colonialism. Okay? So those are the things. Now, this colonialism, all of these things, don't forget that, colonialism, okay, I was talking about, the quest for profit maximization and the quest for cheap labor and market, for the finished goods of these Europeans actually led to colonialism, and subsequent neo-colonialism, through which the resources of the colonized were and are still being exploited. This is perhaps why VI Learning actually submitted that imperialism is the highest stage of what? Of capitalism. So colonialism led to the incorporation of the economies of the colonized people into the world capitalist economy, or into the world capitalist system, at a subjugated position. Now, when you say it incorporated the economies of the third world countries into the world capitalist system, what does that mean? It means that it is the introduction of capitalism into the economies of the third world countries. Don't forget, during colonialism, which is the beginning of the incorporation, the economy became monetized. So you needed to buy what you cannot produce and produce what you cannot buy. Africans started producing. Okay, now they started producing to make money, and then they started, buying what they consume. So they consume what they did not produce and produce what they did not consume. So for you to be able to actually consume, you have to produce and sell. Okay, so those are just the major things. So now, you find out that, you know, all of these actually produce two consequences, in the world, in the world. And then they developed, and of course the industrialized capitalist states, you know actually are the ones, at the vantage position, while the underdeveloped, as well as the periphery countries, actually are the receiving end. Thank you very much.